Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we are going to be jumping down into the charts for BTC, see what's been going on most recently and what I would expect to happen next. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you have not yet joined us in Discord, links in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there, so why not go ahead and check it out today. Okay guys, let's get into this, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to actually jump on down into the charts on the hourly chart, kind of go through what's going on now and what I would expect to happen over the next kind of 24 to 48 hours, and then we're going to go into slightly larger time frames, and if we get chance we'll also jump over into Glassnode and take a look at some of the data over there as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to start things off just by taking a quick look at what is going on over here, right? So we had our $33,993 target here, and we obviously had started to see a bit of a pullback here. And again, this is actually not too bad where it is. We are completely oversold on the hourly though, we should be very, very mindful over what is going on with the 4-hour and the 8-hour. Both of these are just coming out of, well, the 4-hour is just coming out of the overbought and the 8-hour is basically still up in the overbought area. So there could be some kind of bounce to the upside. And there's a couple of different ways we can look at this, right? As we said, we come up higher than our A wave here at 31,000. We got the rejection from there. So we could either look at this as a complete C wave stop just there, which is very, very possible. Alternatively, we could look at it from multiple different angles. We could say that we've got some kind of small correction here, which is just a single correction move. We then have, another correction coming in down here, for example. We just kind of draw that in like so. Okay, and we could argue that that kind of comes in from up there. Then, of course, we could have another one just over here as well. Okay, so all of these are basically just correction, and more corrections. Ultimately, you would look at that as basically just falling short of the C wave. Alternatively, you could also take a look at this move here as a giant kind of A wave up, B wave down, and then we still move on up higher towards our $33,000 target. That would actually then allow us to kind of look at this as if it were still in its corrective state. We've got all those subwaves, but we are looking to come on up, right? So under this kind of move, we could of course grab our fib and take a look at it from this perspective, and if we go ahead and move that to here, you can see we might come up to about $32,000 right about here. If we were to overextend, we'd move up a little bit higher, but it's very unlikely at that stage that we are going to be going higher than that kind of level of $33,000. So there could be some kind of relief bounce here and then a complete collapse down. So I'd be a little bit mindful over where this C wave on the macro might actually finish there. So I'm going to put this one in as a new target over the next kind of 24 hours as to kind of what I would hope for. Of course, it is possible that we just pull on down and we basically now just kind of collapse into those low areas on those final moves down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete this, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll delete that one for now, just so you can kind of see that little move there. It's still possible we get that, but I think it's less likely. I think we should now focus on the 32,134. Now, I'm going to go up into the larger time frames, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come over, let me just remove this and come over to this time frame here, right? So this is the report that has all these kind of like workings on it, right? So we can see all the kind of different kind of bull runs and all that kind of stuff. I've shown this one a few times before, but there's one thing specifically that I really want to kind of focus in on, and that's going to be the EMAs, right? So we closed below the 20 EMA, and therefore on the weekly that is, right? And we're going to come down to the 55. Or the 50, in fact. So close below the 20 and we go down to 50, right? Historically speaking, we've actually closed below the 50 line and we moved on out. You can see this time and time again, all the way back from the lows in 2015. And basically we were closing below it once we had got below the 20 EMA there. We come down below the 50 EMA. Now, obviously up here, the same thing scenario in 2018. We basically closed below the 20, and then we pulled down to below the 50. Same thing over in the pandemic crash, and obviously we closed below the 20 EMA and we've come down to revisit the 50 EMA. Okay, so this actually seems pretty solid. Again, EMAs are just moving averages. I don't mean terribly too much, but you can see how the price resonates incredibly well with them because so many traders rely on these as metrics. They they're basically kind of self-fulfilling prophecies to a degree. Okay, again, the moving average, helps you to understand whether or not something is below average or over average. And from an analytical point of view, I don't tend to use averages too much. I think it's kind of skews your data a little bit if you rely on them too much. So anyway, nonetheless, I wanted to highlight that this was an interesting kind of thing. Obviously, this is on Bitstamp, right? And what's really important about this is not all exchanges show you the same location. Okay, so for now, we actually have a moving average here at $27,000. That is our 50 line, right? So obviously, we came down and we wicked below that level here on Bitstamp. However, if you come over to Binance, you get a vastly different number. The EMA of the 50 is actually at $25,000, and we are yet to come down to it. Okay, so different exchanges, different data, and it's really important that you understand that maybe some of these exchanges it's in their favor to kind of keep the price at very specific levels, right? Because they're going to be essentially liquidating individuals at certain levels, and they'll kind of use people's stop losses to their advantage, essentially, right? The money has to come from somewhere, and they don't necessarily want to be giving it away. So you find different prices on different exchanges for multiple different reasons. Binance is usually one of the interesting ones to keep everything to the penny. So for example, today's or this week's low is exactly to the penny at $29,258. Yet if I come over into Bitstamp, it is actually $29,285.65. Okay, so you get vastly different levels depending on the exchange. Now, it's up to you as to whether you believe that the bottom is in at this low level of 26,700 on Binance, or if you take a look at it from here, $25,401.05. Okay, that sounds a little bit more natural to me. But nonetheless, I still have my wave counts indicating 22,900, and that's down at this low level here. And this basically is a larger correction move from here to here and here. Okay, so there's still possible for possibilities of downside, and the 8-hour and the 4-hour stochastic RSIs, they are basically allowing us to kind of take a look at it from that perspective. It's basically saying that there's probably going to be another surge down. That is the bottom, because we're already oversold on the monthly, we're oversold on the weekly, we're oversold on the daily. But the 8-hour and the 4-hour are overbought, and they do need to come on down. So there's a probability here that we are likely to see this little surge down, just takes us into this lower range. I wouldn't be holding my breath for $20,000 or anything like that, but I would be looking at that $22,900 range, as I do think that is likely to be the one that actually completes this entire wave count, and we can go ahead and move on up. We haven't had any good structures yet either for to kind of really take a look at a bullish structure out of the low. We haven't had that yet either. We've got a lot of corrective waves instead. So we aren't seeing the right waves, the right type of structure of waves to be indicating that we are leaving the bottom. So therefore, this is actually leading me into thinking that we still have that little bit further to go. So as I come back into this, and I just jump into our daily here, I'll zoom on out a little bit, you can kind of see that this is where our target is aiming. Okay, we're trying to come down into this low range, 22,949 approximately, right in that kind of sweet spot there. Okay, now let's jump over into some Glassnode data. So Glassnode is something that I keep a daily eye on. There was huge inflows as the price was pulling back down. Again, this isn't unusual. This kind of thing, it happens. The whales, they tend to drop on the market. And they basically kind of create a little bit of panic and a little bit of surge to the downside, and then they accumulate again, right? So we saw the huge spike here when it comes to the inflows, but you also have seen this decrease just as rapidly as it increased, right? So as sharp as it went up, it came right the way back down. So yesterday's inflows were actually 16,000 BTC, but we can also take a look at the outflows. Looking at one without looking at the other is incredibly foolish. It's important that we understand what both the inflows are as well as the outflows, and we can see that these have also come down, but they're 19,000. This essentially means that we've had 3,000 more BTC go onto the exchanges come off of the exchanges than has gone onto the exchange, right? So it's very important that we know that a net difference is negative, right? We've got more Bitcoin leaving again than is going on. Same story that has been going on since February of 2022. Large amounts of Bitcoin have been leaving the exchanges. Now, if we take a look at the balance of Bitcoin on the exchanges, you can see that rapid increase just to kind of shake retail investors out, thinking that everything was going to go down to like, I don't know, $10,000 or whatever. Essentially, then start to see the accumulation occur again, and you see the Bitcoin, the balance of Bitcoin on the exchanges decrease rapidly once again. So we're going to probably be going down into those new lows. I think once we come back down into this range, we'll continue to kind of see that accumulation. But where's it going? As always, we like to take a look at the addresses. If we take a look at the whales with more than 1,000 BTC, they did actually start to decrease here, and then they're starting to increase a little bit as well. But really, the sharks, they're the ones who have been actually accumulating during this dip. A little bit of fluctuation there, but nothing too much. And including those dolphins as well, they have been accumulating steadily. So you can see that the Bitcoin's been flowing into the wealthy individuals, and the retail investors are basically being shaken out of their BTC, and they are not really going to be holding much of it left at all. So it really is a big transfer of wealth. You know, in these events, they kind of happen like that. They basically remove the wealth from the retail investor, and they transfer it over to the wealthy, specifically the 1,000k 1,000 Bitcoin holders, right? They're the ones who are really controlling the market. They can make the market go up, they can make the market go down, because they own and hold so much BTC, whereas your sharks and your I guess your dolphins, they kind of hover around. They kind of do what the whales are trying to do, and they do it on a smaller scale. Again, equally as powerful, just they're not necessarily going to be able to move the market in the same way. So you should be, fully aware of those kind of scenarios. Essentially, from a Glassnode data perspective, everything's actually looking okay at this point in time. I still expect a little bit more of a downside. I think the accumulation hasn't finished. I think the accumulation of Bitcoin is going to continue for a little while yet as well. But guys, I am going to leave the video there. If you have found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.